Hey guys, in this video we are going to be looking at the border radius property in CSS3. Now over here I have an HTML document which has the HTML5 doc type declaration. We have an HTML with a language N because we're writing it in English. We have a head tag, and in between the head tag we have a meta chart set of UTF-8. That's just all the standard, the title CSS3. And I have a style tag because we are going to be doing CSS. Now, normally if you're creating a website, I recommend you to use an external CSS. So do the style link CSS stuff, and you write all your CSS into something.css like main.css or style.css. But for the purpose of this tutorial, because I want to put everything as in the HTML and CSS in one place so that I don't have to keep on going back and forth between the HTML and the CSS, I am just going to put the CSS into my HTML as long as the CSS isn't too big. Okay, so I have a CSS. I'll come back to this property later. After my head tag, I'll have my body tag, I'll have my end HTML tag. Inside my body tag, I just have a div with the ID of box, and it just says border radius. Now, for my box ID over here, I have some CSS properties which I declared. The border is 3 pixels thick, it's a solid and it's black colored. The background color is a light grayish color, really close to white. The width is 200 pixels. So it's 200 pixels long, the margin 300 pixels on auto, so it's about at the center of the screen in my browser. The padding is 20 pixels, I could even make it bigger if I want to make my box itself bigger, and I have the text align center, so the border radius text is at the center. So once you write this and you save your work and you preview it in your browser, it should look something like this. So you have a black border, 3 pixels, we have a gray, really light grey background with text in the middle which says border radius with the text align center. Okay, and in CSS you can use border radius to change this corner of your box or your borders to a circle-ish. So right up until now, all the borders were basically a square, or it was basically like a corner. Square, rectangle, whatever you want to call it. However, in CSS3 you can change it into like a roundy shape. So let's try that. Now before I go into any full explanation about how the CSS3 border radius work, let's just try writing one. So let's say inside your box, because we want to change this box ID, let's say border radius, oops, can't spell. And after the colon, we are going to write something pixel. Now this pixel is going to be a number. Let's just say about 25 pixels. Save our work and see how it does. Okay, so after I refresh my browser, this is how it looks. The border, which used to be like a rectangle shape with right-angled sides on each top right, top left, and so on, now turned into this, this circly corners. The corners are round, and it's round by 25 pixels. Now, you might be wondering what the hell is this 25 pixels and how you can actually use the border radius to its full potential to customize your borders. And now I am going to go into the full explanation. Okay, I'm back, and I have actually created 3 boxes and just copy pasted the box ID box with the border radius, and I just named it box 2 and box 3, and I just gave each of the border radius a different name. One says 25 pixels and the other says different, and I'll just come back to it later. Okay, so I created CSS for all 3 boxes. I'm just hiding these 2 because I'm going to be talking about the first box. I haven't changed any of the margin stuff. I just changed the margin for these 2 just so that it looks all 3 boxes are in one page, so you don't have to worry about that. The only thing we're going to be concentrating on is this border radius. Basically, this border radius, you can take 2 numbers. If you look over here, the part I've commented out, it says border radius is 25 pixels, 25 pixels. Now what that means is basically the border radius looks at this one and then looks at this one, and the length of this is basically how long you want the x-axis to be, and this is basically how long you want the y-axis to be. So if you want the x-axis and y-axis to be the same, you can actually put it into this just one border radius 25 pixel, but basically that equals border radius 25 pixels 25 pixels. Okay, that's why you have this like circle border, which is the same on the x side and the y side. Now you might be thinking, what the hell does that mean? Let me actually go to my browser and show you it. There we go. So currently we have three boxes with different borders. We have this border radius with 25 pixels, which means that both x and y is 25 pixels, which is why it looks like a perfect circle edge. However, if you go to my next one, it says border radius 100 pixels, 50 pixels. That basically means that it's 100 pixels long and 50 pixels wide. So we have this length, which is 100 pixels, and this length, which is 50 pixels, which is why it looks more like a skewed circle, or like a stretched one to the top right. It's stretched to the top right. That is because the x is longer than the y. Now if you go to my third one, it's actually the opposite way around. The x is shorter than the y, and the y is longer than the x, because it says 50 pixels for the x and 100 pixels for the y. That basically means that the height, the height is 50 pixels and the length is that actually means that the length is 50 pixels, sorry, and the height 100 pixels. So it's longer on the top than the right, which is why it's actually stretched to the opposite way around. So this is how you can make border radiuses, or weird, weird shapes of your boxes that isn't actually equal on all sides. You can make it like longer on the x-axis and the y-axis, or longer on the y-axis and the x-axis by using two different numbers, like so. It's basically like what's a good one? It's like margin. That's for the x-axis, that's for the y-axis, and if you write one number, that's margin for everything, except for, in this case, we are talking about border radiuses. So if I come back to my CSS3 or HTML document and open up my box 2 and box 3, you can see that all I've changed is, except for the margin, so that the boxes are close to each other and I can fit in one page, is that all the border radiuses have the 100 pixels and 50 pixels for box 2, and it has 50 pixels by 100 pixels over here for box 3. Okay, so I'm back. I've deleted box 2 and 3. I just have the CSS for my one box, and I have one box just like here. Okay, and currently I'm just going to delete this. Currently we have a border radius of 25. Now instead of doing border radius for all of the corners at once, we can actually specify each corner, saying border top left radius or border bottom right radius and so on. So let's quickly do that now. I'm going to comment this out like so. And underneath it, over here, let's give it a bit more space so that the code is in the middle. There we go. I am going to say border top left radius is 10 pixels, 5 pixels. And I can say border top right radius is about 50 pixels, just 50 pixels, so that it's 50 pixels and 50 pixels. I'm going to say border bottom right radius is I don't know, 40 pixels, no, 5 pixels and 40 pixels. And I am not going to write anything for my border radius bottom left, so I'm going to comment this out, so that border radius of my bottom left is going to be 25 pixels. Okay, so I'm going to save this and refresh my browser over here. There we go. So we have this border radius of 10 pixels by 5 pixels on my top left, which doesn't look like it's done much. Let me change this to like 100 pixels and try to see if anything different happens. There we go. Apparently it does change a bit. You can't really see it. Let's just change this to 50 then. Cool, that changed a lot. So I've got my weird circle for my top left, which I specified over here, for my top right, which is completely different. For my bottom left, that's already 5 pixels, 40 pixels, again because my first one is really small. You can't really see it, but if I change this to like 50 pixels, you can see that it's got another unique circle, round shape. And on my bottom left, because I didn't specify over here, it's going to have that border radius 25 pixels, so it's going to be 25 by 25 over here. Okay, lastly, let's look at vendor prefixes. Now, currently this border radius itself is supported by all the major browsers, IE9, Google Chrome, Safari, Mozilla Firefox, Opera, and so on. However, Mozilla Firefox actually supported border radius since Firefox 1.0, and before CSS3 border radiuses was fully implemented in other browsers, it had its own unique way of writing its property. So this is how it looks. So the border radius 25 pixels over here, and for Mozilla, older versions of Mozilla, you write Moz border radius 25 pixels. Now that is not much different. All you do is just add Moz here. However, when it comes to these specific corners of your border, say top left, we have the border top left radius is 100 pixels by 50 pixels. However, for Moz, it changes differently. We have this vendor prefix Moz, and it says border radius top left is 50 pixels by 100 pixels by 50 pixels. So when we specify each corners for Mozilla, old version of Mozilla, the way you write your border radius changes. So you write border radius top left instead of border top left radius. In my comment over here, I quickly wrote the comparison of the two. So this is the default one, and this is for the Moz. And this is just so that it's just a space thing here. So we have border radius 25, Moz border radius 25, but if you do like top left and bottom right, instead of having border something something radius, border something something radius, you have Moz border radius and then the corner. So that's something to remember when you want to create websites to make it compatible for older versions of Firefox. So that's it for border radiuses. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.